Terrence here with Root Healthy Plants, and in today's video I'm going to show you how to plant a fruit tree. Let's get started. I'm going to pick this tree up and put it where it's going to go. Its home, its new home. Let's start with the things that you are going to need. For starters, of course, you're going to need your fruit tree. What I have here is a Northern Spy apple tree. Eventually, I'll need another apple tree that blooms during the same season or time frame so they can cross-pollinate each other so that I can eventually get fruit. For now, I'm just going to plant this one, and when I find one that blooms during the same season, I'll put that out here in a close proximity. I also have some drip irrigation tubes, and I'm going to show you how I'm going to set that up. I have my nippers here in case I need to cut some roots, but I also need to cut some of this drip irrigation tubing to connect to my hose. The method that I'm using, you're going to need a hose to connect to the drip irrigation. You're going to need a shovel. I have some wood chips here in my cart. I'm going to put that on top when I'm done. For the most part, that's all you need. And I'm going to start digging my hole. Now you want to find a home for your tree. You want to put it in a place that gives it enough space for when it starts branching out, but also you want to make sure that there are no big trees that are really overshadowing it so that it gets enough sun. This seems about right. Let's get started. This is some really hard compacted clay soil, so it's going to take me a little bit to get through this. I might need to end up getting my pickaxe if it gets too difficult. Sometimes there's some rocks in there, so you got to kind of dig around them. Feel some rock in there. Ooh. Get under that rock. There we go. See, it's a big rock in there. Now with a tree this size, I definitely think it's going to have some decent sized roots. You don't need to dig so deep, rather than having a wide enough area so where you can spread out the root system. They don't need to be super deep into the ground. You don't want it too shallow, but you don't want it too deep. The general rule of thumb for how deep your tree needs to go into the ground is how far the growing medium goes up into the pot where your tree already is. So this is about a foot of growing medium inside this pot. So I'm going to dig about a foot into the ground. Just chipping away at a surrounding area and just widening that hole little by little. I put a little elbow grease into it. Yeah, this is a little bit of work, but it's worth the investment because this tree will give back to you for many years to come, and you don't have to really do much maintenance to it. I had to chop through a few tree roots that were making its way under here. Now I'm going to show you the hole. This is what the hole looks like. Now it's time to put the tree in the ground. Somewhere on the internet, somebody said, a tree a day keeps the poverty away. Now, me thinking with the logical brain, nobody is planting a tree a day unless you have an enormous property. I'm not planting a tree a day, but I'll plant trees when I get the money and where I have the space. Let's take this tag off right here. I'll leave this one on here just so you know what kind of tree it is. Not that I'm going to forget, but I definitely want to make sure I get the right tree to cross-pollinate with this. Y'all remind me, this is a Northern Spy. When I put this tree into the ground, I'm going to use a lot of this growing medium that's already here, that the tree is already in, because it has a lot of these nutrients from these slow release pellets here that are going to keep the tree healthy. Not that it wouldn't thrive in this native soil here, but I kind of don't want to like just shock the tree and just throw it into something completely different. I want to slowly tilt this over here, and because it's not just going to come out super easy yet, and I don't want to damage the roots by just ripping it out. All right, so I'm just going to ease it out here. And now, let me shake some of this off. I'm going to use probably most of this growing medium here, but I'm going to shake some of this off, and I want to get a look at the root system. If this was root bound, I'd have to bring out my shears and then untangle it, cut some roots, and make sure that this tree has the best possible chance for success and is able to spread its roots out versus choking itself out in the ground. I look at this root structure here. This is not root bound, but I want to make sure that these roots are able to be free. So if you have any roots that are like this right here, like stuck like a ring and you can't pull out one side, then you know you have to free that root. Just like a doctor giving a checkup. Just inspect the roots, make sure that the roots are free. It's also called girdling roots. So when it becomes root bound, that's girdling roots. You don't want the roots girdling. This looks pretty healthy. I got the tree base here. I'm feeling all around there, giving it a proper inspection. This is a proper doctor's visit, right? The doctor's visit, you gotta check the ears, the eyes, check the heart rate, blood pressure, check, check everything. All right, now that I see that this tree has healthy roots, hence the name Root Healthy, now we can put it into the ground. I'm going to integrate some of the native soil with the soil that was in the pot to begin with. Why am I mixing these two growing mediums together? The answer to that is, I want this tree to have a good start. The nutrients from the slow release pellets are going to be there to help give that tree a good kickstart, but I also want it to start to get used to the native soil, because when the roots start to grow out, they're going to have nothing but the native soil. So it's sort of like weaning the tree off of the nutrients from its growing medium that was in the pot, and it's kind of slowly introducing its new growing medium. So I just want to mix that up. It's like a nice even mixture. I'll put a little bit more of this other mixture here. A lot of my other trees I bought bare root, and it didn't have the growing medium that it came with. So what I would typically do is I would add a little bit of compost to the native soil and mix that in so that the tree has some good nutrients to have a good kickstart to its life. Now that I got a nice amount of the growing medium into the ground, now it's time to ease my tree in. What I like to do is I like to make sure that the ground level is level to where the tree is going to be coming out the ground at. That's how you know your tree's in a good spot. So eyeball it right there. Maybe I'll put a little bit more soil under there. All right. That looks about perfect. Now we're going to stretch out a lot of these roots. You don't want them all balled up and girdling. You want them spread. So you want to make sure your tree is centered so you have enough room to spread the roots out how they need to be spread. It's almost like having a mop and putting the stick of the mop down and then spreading out all of the mop along the floor. All right, this feels about good. Now it's time to backfill. So we're going to add a lot more of this growing medium here. And you want to make sure your tree is straight. So as you fill it, it's going to start to have a more of a solid base, so you don't want it leaning. Now we're going to add some more of this other mixture here, and I'm going to mix that up right on top. And as you see, the tree can pretty much stand up on its own now. But you just, like I said, you just want to keep it centered. We're almost at regular ground level. I'm going to have to dump some more of that other growing medium in. Yep. Dump the rest here. We hit it with some more native soil. You don't want it too high. Where you had the tree coming out of the growing medium in the pot, that's where you want it coming out of the ground. You don't want the soil infecting the tree with any soil-borne diseases or anything like that. So I'm gonna break up some of these red clay chunks here. And like I said, just integrate that in with that other growing medium. Make sure we have this thing centered. I'm putting a little extra soil a little bit above ground level because when this gets wet, it's going to settle in and compact a little bit. Now I'm going to hit it with some arborist mulch on top. Why am I using arborist mulch? One, I got it for free. The second reason I'm using arborist mulch is because this helps retain moisture under the ground for the roots. All right, so we want to spread this out along the width of that hole. We don't want the arborist mulch rising up on the tree along the base because it can start to cause rot on the tree from all the moisture. So we kind of make like a volcano, so to speak, like a volcano effect, and just back some of those wood chips back. I like to pat it down so that it doesn't fall back down. So you peel some of that back until you get to about soil level right here, and then just kind of pat that down so it's not rising up so high, so that when the wind blows, it doesn't push it back down, or animals like squirrels just pushing it back down on the tree. Now on to the next step. I have some drip irrigation here. I also have my nozzle that's going to connect to my hose. I'm going to eyeball the width of how much drip irrigation that I need. This looks about right. Now I'm going to grab my nippers and cut the tubing. This piece right here, we're going to put our drip irrigation inside. Now we're going to put the other end of the tubing inside the other part. Now we have a nice ring of drip irrigation around the tree, and I'm going to bury it a little bit so that it stays in place. Double check the base of the tree. Like I said, make sure those wood chips are not rising up on their tree base. And now it's time to connect my hose to my drip irrigation. You want to make sure that there's no debris blocking the connecting piece of your drip irrigation to the hose, and now it's time to connect it. Now it's time to turn on the hose. I just turned on my hose. Now I'm going to give you a close-up to show you that the drip irrigation is coming out. If you look closely, you can see the water coming out of the drip irrigation there. I've successfully planted my Northern Spy apple tree. We've given this tree an amazing start to its new home. If you've gotten something useful out of this video, if this was informative for you, please smash that like button. Please share this video. If you haven't already subscribed, hit that subscribe button, and I look forward to seeing you on the next one. Keep it growing.